guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my June wrap up for the second half of June. I read 17 books. If you're interested in the first half of the month, I read 16 books in the first 2.5 weeks of the month, and so I will link that wrap up down below. I've read 17 books. I only have 4 physical books with me, and I only physically read 2 of these. I listened to these audiobooks, and then the other 13, I guess, were either ebook or audiobooks that I read. So physically I was not reading that much. I really only read 2 physical books for the second half of the month, which is wild to me, but I had a pretty good reading month. It was not too busy for me. July is going to be crazy busy, but I'm glad I got this amount read. I had some surprises. I am in the middle of a reading vlog where I have 1 book left, so 4 of the books at the end of this wrap up are going to be for that reading vlog that's going to come out this Friday, so I'm not going to say too much about them, leave you in a little bit of suspense about those, but I will go ahead and get to all the books that I read. So the first one to listen on audio is Consolation by Corinne Michaels. I read this because I believe both Sam and Cheyenne, Sam from Sam Reads a Little and Cheyenne from That Tall Book Girl, talked about this duet in their love triangle recommendation video, and so I was so hyped. I was like, yes, give me the love triangle, give me the angst. My issue with this book is that the love triangle doesn't come in until book 2, so I was waiting and waiting because I knew who the love triangle was going to be about, and that person does not enter the book until literally like the last page. So our heroine loses her husband. He is in the military. I don't remember what section of the military he's in, but she had just had a child and he passes away. She learns about it. She's absolutely heartbroken, and then his best friend moves to be closer to her and help provide for her, take care of her, and they fall in love. So it was just okay. It was nothing super exciting or special. I was just like listening along. Nothing that was really grabbing my attention or making me like feel that angst. I was like, this is sad, but like nothing else. So I gave it 3 stars. I was a little disappointed in this one, but I think I want to continue on because I feel like what I wanted out of this book is what I'll get out of book 2. So I was just disappointed, but probably will pick up the next audiobook. I believe the audio was available through Audible Plus catalog, and that's how I listened to it. So if you're interested, just know there's no angst or love triangle in book 1. Then in one day, I listened to the entire audiobook for Annie Song by Katherine Anderson. This doesn't look long, but it's over 400 pages. So it was a pretty hefty audiobook, but I have such conflicting feelings of this. I will go ahead and link down below our live show where we chatted about this book, because this one's about Annie, who has been seen as mentally unable to provide for herself, think for herself, speak, and her family believes that this happened because she got ill as a child. We figure out really the truth about Annie and like her mental capabilities. I don't want to spoil anything, but the town knows who she is, and a lot of the people who are younger make fun of her, and well, something horrific happens in the beginning where Annie is raped and she becomes pregnant from that, and Annie has not had any education or anybody really trying to tell her about growing up or maturing or the world since she was ill as a child. So she has no idea how pregnancy works. She thinks she's getting fat and that her parents hate her for getting fat, so she's like not eating anything, and our hero is actually the guy's brother who had done that to Annie, and so he hears about it. He is horrified and he wants to help them, but her family is very hard to deal with because they really love Annie and keep her instead of sending her off like people normally did during that time period with people who have disabilities, and so they want to keep her and care for her, but they're also horrified of their reputation, and they don't want to be known as having crazy in their bloodline because people believed in all that stuff back then where, okay, you have one person in your family is like this, everybody's gonna be like this, we can't trust you, you're nuts, stuff like that. So her father is a judge and he's very worried about his reputation, and so they don't want things to get out. They don't want it to get out that she's pregnant, and so our hero says, I will say the baby's mine, I'll marry her. He is unable to have children anyways, so he's like, I'll raise the child as mine and I'll marry her. So they do, and then it's his love story with Annie, and the love story was my least favorite thing about this book. I feel like half the book was not the love story, and it was really just this historical fiction that I was really enjoying and really intrigued to see. But once the romance came in, it kind of felt weird because Annie has been treated and represented like this very young, innocent person, and now he's like sexualizing her, and they constantly talk about how curvy and feminine and womanly and enticing her body is, though she still acts like she's like 9. So I didn't like that kind of juxtaposition of her mental representation versus her bodily representation, and then it was just okay for the hero to want to like sleep with her just because of that. And she was very naive because she did not know a lot about the world, and I would have liked her to like grow a little bit more before entering that kind of relationship. So I have lots of mixed feelings about this. So I gave it 3.5 stars, but I rounded it down to 3 just because as a romance, it was definitely lacking in that aspect. And I read Never Seduce a Scot, I think. I don't remember. The My Banks book with the purple cover does this story better, in my opinion. Then I read Falling Embers by Catherine Cowles. I have been loving Catherine Cowles lately. I did read this one physically, and this one is about our heroine who, her older sister was kidnapped as a child. So this is book 2. In book 1, we get to see a lot about that incident that happened because her brother is in book 1 and their sister was kidnapped. I'm really excited for the sister to finally get a book. She does not get 1, 2, or 3, so I'm hoping she gets 4 or 5. But she was kidnapped and they end up rescuing her, but her parents are just horrified that happened, and they're very, very protective. But our heroine thrives on adrenaline, and so she really loves to do dangerous things, go out and take risks, and her family is horrified, especially her mother. Her mother is so hard on her, and so she actually has kind of like this TikTok page, but it's not called TikTok, of these stunts that she does, and she's super popular online, but nobody in her real life knows that. And our hero is a single dad. He has twins, and I love the single dad trope, and they have been friends since they were young. So I think he is the brother's best friend, but they've always been around each other. He kind of introduced her to all like the adrenaline junkie stuff, but he stopped. He had a one-night stand with someone, got them pregnant, and he's not with the wife anymore, and we figure out why. It does all come to play. We have to deal with his ex a lot, but he is kind of hard on our heroine, but she's around all the time because she's so really close to him. And it's their romance. I really liked it. It was a really sweet friends to lovers, but also he doesn't want to get close to her because he doesn't agree with some of the things she does, because like a lot of people are trying to tame her and tell her that she's being selfish by doing all these like crazy things, but that's what she's really passionate about. And so I thought this was really interesting. I really loved our heroine and having a heroine who does that, and I just really enjoyed it. And of course it's small town, so we have a little bit of suspense thrown in at the end. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'm pretty sure I rounded up to 5. I just really love this series and I'm excited to pick up book 3, which came out this month. Then I finished Plot Twist by Danielle Allen. I started this at the beginning of the month. This one's a second chance romance between people who got divorced, but it's very messy. So it's a novella, and our hero and heroine are shown breaking up in the beginning, and then the heroine has a date to a wedding. And at that wedding, she literally hooks up with her ex-husband in a closet while her date is looking for her. And I feel like I wanted more chemistry between the heroine and the hero, because we saw them break up and then we didn't really get to see a lot of them until they hook up again. And there was nothing about that romance for like half the book. So, and it's only a novella, so I feel like the pacing was a little off for me. I didn't really feel that connection between them, and they kept on hooking up, even though she was like kind of dating someone else, and I just wasn't like the biggest fan of that, because I can be okay with like, it's not technically cheating because she wasn't dating that guy, but she was on a date, if like there's so much pent up angst and longing and romance between the couple, and I just did not feel that between these two. So I give this one 3 stars. This was a miss for me. I think I like Danielle Allen's longer novels, because when I read her novellas, I don't really love them, but when I pick up her longer works, I absolutely love them. So I think I will stick with her novels and not really novellas. Oh, okay, so this is why. I do have Juniper Hill, so I don't have the physical book. I read this physically. It's in my giant stack back here of books that I'm bringing to Book Bonanza, because I'm going to meet Daphne Perry, which I'm excited for. This one, I gave 5 stars. Finally in this series. I really enjoyed book 1, but this one was so good. It's a single parent romance, small town, grumpy hero. I've just been eating that up. Our hero is tattooed and he's a chef. He works for the hotel that like his family owns, and he's really talented, and the heroine is running away from a past because she's been cut off by her very wealthy family, and she has like a newborn baby, and so she has not told anybody who the father is. She is trying to get a job as a cleaning lady at this hotel as a maid, and she found it online, had nowhere to stay though, so the hero's sister pretty much helps run the hotel and told her she could stay in the like separated garage apartment at the hero's house. So it is kind of like neighbors romance, and it's forced proximity, and the hero shows his love through cooking, which I loved. He's very grumpy. He has a really sad damaged past of his own, and so he had a really hard time opening up to her, especially because she had a child, but they grew closer, and I really loved how much he loved her and loved her son, and it was so good. And our heroine just really struggles as a single mom, and I loved seeing that vulnerability in a heroine, and I just loved her drive though, and her dedication to her family, and I had so much fun reading this. I gave it 5 stars. I'm excited for the next book in the series. I feel like this is like my candy from Devney Perry. Like, I have enjoyed her other series, but this one just like blew it out of the water. I really love this series. Then on Audible Plus, I listened to Deliver by Pam Godwin. I've talked about this in my, I think, 2 videos that I've come out with in the past week. My books I'm obsessed with, and then the darkest romances I've ever read. This one is a very dark romance. Our heroine helps recruit sex slaves for buyers and trains them before giving them to buyers. And now our heroine is not doing it voluntarily. She's being blackmailed to do this. And so it's really interesting to look at what will drive people to do very dark and damaged things. And our heroine does that. And this time though, she kidnaps a man who is a football player in college, and he's not like someone she should be kidnapping because he has a really close family. He has people who will miss him, and he is very stubborn. But she is drawn to him. She takes him, and he is not like anybody she's kidnapped before. He won't break as easily, and he actually likes her, and he is very into her and intrigued by her. And it's 2 people in just an awful situation trying to figure out how to survive and what they'll do. And I really love this one. I will say the ending, I feel like the book was dragged really on a lot, and I wasn't expecting that ending. I don't know if I like loved the direction the book went, so I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. But I love Pam Godwin and just the things she will put her characters through, and like mentally what she will explore with their romance and the situations they're in. So I really enjoyed this one. Very, very dark though. She does really dark things to him, and she is in a bad situation herself, but I'm glad I read it. I don't know if I'll continue on the series, but I enjoyed this one. And then I read Fair Catch. Riley is a female kicker on a football team and got into a D1 school, the same school that Zeke got into, who is her brother's best friend. And her brother's going to school there too. Her brother can't play football anymore. I don't want to like spoil why, because I was really shocked when I read that, but I would love a book for the brother. But this one I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I really loved all the football we got in here. We got so much in the beginning, but then they start hooking up in order to like help Riley like loosen up and do better, because she's like in a mental block. And I feel like once we got to there, I wasn't like the biggest fan of the romance anymore, because it was just like all that of them hooking up and not as much of the football anymore. And I was like, I like more of like the plot too. So it was good. I really enjoyed their connection. And Zeke has dyslexia, and I really liked him being vulnerable about his difficulties in school to Riley, especially when she kept on making fun of him for it. And he finally was like, you know, like that really bothers me. So really enjoyed this one, 4 out of 5 stars. Then on Audible, I had Sweatpants Season by Danielle Allen. I bought it on a sale, so I listened to this, and this is one I really enjoyed. So this one, our heroine is in a photography class. She is a freelancer writer, and she's hoping to hone her skills. So she's in a class and is partnered up with this guy, and they really hit it off, and she's like super attracted to him. But then she learns he is one of the 3 guys in this podcast that is super misogynistic and awful dating advice for guys, that is just demeaning to women, and she despises it. And she's like, wait, you're in this podcast? And she's like, okay, absolutely no way. Like, I hate you. I could never date you. And so she's immediately put off by him. But then she gets a job as a columnist, and it's about like dating in the city. And her co-writer, who they have to go to all these events with, is our hero, who was the guy from the photography class. And so he is actually the one who isn't as bad as the other guys on the podcast, but she's like, the fact that you condone that behavior and discussion shows me your true colors. And so they have to work together, and they really start falling for each other. And the sweatpants scene is so funny, and based on what like the title is, but they start growing really close and really falling for each other. But she's like, you need to address what is happening with this podcast. And like, then she does kind of attack them in a piece, these guys on the podcast. So they invite her, and it's just like him trying to reevaluate like his friendships. Is he gonna ruin his friendships because this girl? Are his friends really that bad? And so I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I like the whole hate to love aspect, and it was fun seeing them work together and do photography things together. And so highly recommend the audiobook. I love these narrators as well, so I'm glad I read this. And then I read Misconnections by Denise Williams. This is one of her novellas. So similar to Allie Hazelwood, Denise Williams is also coming out with 3 novellas on audio that are then going to be put into ebook later on. And this one's actually the second one. It's the first one that came in at my library, so I read it. And I was pretty bored by this one. Our hero and heroine meet on New Year's Eve at a airport, and they spend like the whole time together because all the flights are canceled. And then she gets this job, and she's like, oh, I heard this guy is like super awful and mean, and it's the guy that she had spent New Year's Eve with. And it goes on from there, and I was just like really bored. I can barely even remember anything else that happened in this book, and it was literally like a 3-hour audiobook. Like, I should be able to remember what a 3-hour book was about, but nothing was really holding my attention. I did not care about the characters, so I gave this 3 stars. It was cute in the beginning. Like, I liked how they met and how they were spending that time together, but It just wasn't special. It was just okay. Nothing really exciting, so I gave it 3 stars. Then I read Honey Trap by Tate James. This is for the Ravished by Romance book club I run with Lacey, and Lacey had picked this out, and I'm so happy she did because I'm obsessed. I love this book. So this one, 5 out of 5 stars, one of my favorites of the month. Our heroine's a mercenary. She takes jobs. She's been trained literally since she was a child to be this trained assassin, and so someone's trying to kill her, and Leon is also part of the group she works for, and he is more like techie and a hacker. He's obsessed with her. He's stalking her. He is like hacking so that he can get jobs with her, and he gets this job with her, and she is pretty much put on a suicide mission. This guy that she's supposed to kill and get information out of has never been breached before, and he literally like eliminates anybody he's even suspicious of. And so Leon is like, you're gonna get caught, like, you're gonna get killed, and Danny, the heroine, is like, I'm fine, I can handle myself, it's cool. So she tries to infiltrate Kai's group. Kai is the guy she's supposed to kill, and he immediately is suspicious of her. He takes her to an island and keeps her captive, and now Danny is keeping this persona of being this innocent banker, and she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, I'm just a banker, like what are you doing? She keeps this persona the entire time, and in her mind she is like making fun of them, their torture tactics. She's like, you guys are amateurs, this is so dumb, and she's like, oh, I have to pretend cry again, and it was so funny. And she is so into Kai, and Kai is like not a good guy, but he does things to her that he thinks he's in control. She is definitely in control the whole time and loving it, like loving what he's doing to her, even though he's thinking like he's scaring her. She's just like, I'm so into this, and it was amazing. I loved it. I'm dying to get to book 2. Apparently it's polyamorous, so she's gonna be with both Leon and Kai, I think. I love this one, 5 stars. Can't wait to read book 2. Then I did listen to the audiobook of Sweet Dandelion for that reading vlog I'm coming out with, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. I was pleasantly surprised. I did have to suspend my disbelief because I'm a teacher. This is a guidance counselor student romance, so I just like completely ignored the fact that they were in a school setting and read it like I do my age gap romances. Obviously I don't condone this in real life, but our heroine, Danny, her real name's Dandelion, she goes by Danny, she was in a school shooting, and in the school shooting, she lost her mother who was a teacher. So she literally watched her mother die, and she had to run for her life and got shot as well. And Danny used to run a lot, but she got shot in the leg and had to get surgery and has a hard time walking for long periods of time, let alone running. And so she's lost a lot in her life, and she's starting a new school. She's living with her older brother who's like 25, and because her dad also passed away a while ago, so now she doesn't have any parents, and she is supposed to see the guidance counselor every day to talk to him, and he is the only person she really feels comfortable around. They have a very, very slow burn romance, and I just really enjoy this. And what I appreciated about this as a forbidden romance, their relationship had repercussions. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. They did have to hide, but obviously it's going to come out, and there were things that happened because of their relationship, and I really loved the end. I really loved how much time passed and what these characters went through, and Danny's self-growth and her journey was amazing. And I feel like the writing wasn't the same as her duet that I read, Macaulay Smelter. I feel like the writing was not my favorite in the Wildflower duet. I really enjoyed that duet, but it felt kind of like an author's earlier work, even though that was published the most recently. In Sweet Dandelion, I really loved her writing and just the emotion she had in her writing and everything that happened in this book. So I am really happy I gave it a try. I know that Michae from What Hates Michae absolutely adores this book, so I'm excited that I enjoyed it. Again, see that vlog for my full thoughts on this book. Then I listened to the audiobook of Timid, and this was actually a miss for me by Devney Perry. This one, our heroine is very shy, that's why it's called Timid. She's grown up in this small town, and she has had a crush on our hero since she saw him when she was a teenager. He was in his like early 20s, so he obviously never saw her as anything more. And then one night later, she is older now, she helps run this like camp. He like comes home drunk and kisses her when he sees her, and she's like, oh my gosh, this is gonna change everything, but he doesn't remember. And so he then sees like this painting of her and is like, oh my gosh, like I never saw her in this light before. And then he pursues her like relentlessly, and she's like, well, I don't know, you kind of like really hurt me. Then they start dating, and then like what he does for the third act breakup was so stupid. I was like, you literally spent all this time pursuing her, and now you're running away. And I was really annoyed with him. So I give this 3 stars. It was just like, it was okay, but I was really not a fan of the heroine who just like let life pass by, and she's like, oh, I liked him, but I'm not gonna do anything about it, and I'm just gonna sit here and like, I don't know. I like my heroines with a little bit more agency, and then I didn't really love the hero as well, so 3 stars for this one. More like 2.5. It's probably my least favorite in the series. Then I did read Terms and Conditions for my reading vlog for my members. If you're interested in joining my channel memberships, that is always linked down below. below, I read 2 books that they choose. So I read this one and I also read Fair Catch, and in this one our hero needs to get married in order to become CEO of his company, which is pretty much Disneyland. They call it Dreamland. And in the beginning they're supposed to have this girl who had volunteered, but I don't know, like she didn't show up or something, and so our heroine Iris is actually the hero's assistant, and she decides to step up and marry him. And so it's a marriage of convenience. They have a history though, like they've known each other for a long time. Iris has really put her life on hold for him because she literally lives and breathes her job, and she is determined to do well though. She never went to college. She just wants to show that she can, you know, be successful and like hold a job. And so it's their romance. I actually really enjoyed this. The first half was super slow and I was like, okay, like when is like this gonna pick up? The hero ends up groveling a lot in the end. He's definitely very grumpy. Iris definitely tells him things he's not ready to hear, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed Iris's character the most. Our hero is very grumpy and very mean to her. He says some really rude things, but like I said, he does grovel in the end, and he's definitely a grumpy millionaire or billionaire, probably billionaire. I really liked her relationship with his brother, and we got to see the couple from book 1, and I like this. It did deal a lot with his relationship with his dad too. And is it my favorite? No, but I gave it 4 stars. Like I said, the beginning was really slow, but I still really enjoyed this romance, and I'm excited for the 3rd book to come out about the 3rd brother. Then for that reading vlog coming Friday, I read The Takeover by T.L. Swan, and I gave this 5 stars. Like, there's one thing that bothered me that I almost gave a 4.5 stars for, but I'm obsessed with Tristan Miles. I loved how he met our heroine. So this is actually available on Kindle Unlimited for read and listen. So I listened to the audiobook, and when Tristan sees Claire, he's like absolutely in love with her. And so he pursues her, and they hook up at this conference, and they have a weekend in Paris together, and it's amazing. But Claire's a widow, and she has never been with anybody since her husband died. She has 3 boys, 9, 14, and 18. So they are pretty old kids. I normally don't read single parent romances with older kids, and I really love that in here. And Tristan like shows up at her house and sees her life, and he's immediately like, oh my god, like what am I getting myself into? No way. But he can't stop thinking about Claire and is determined to pursue her, and it was amazing. Her middle child is like literally a demon, and Tristan like goes head to head with him, and it is so funny. This is definitely single parent romance. Like the kids had a ton to do with the plot. My main gripe with this book is the end where Claire pulls away and why she did, and she made decisions for everybody even though she was literally the only one who thought that. No one else wanted that decision but her, and she chose it, and I was like, you're being really annoying. Like she saw something as a red flag that literally is a green flag in a character, so I was annoyed. But love this so much. Gush about it in my vlog. I really loved it. And I'm happy I read it. I don't know if I want to go back and read book 1 right away. I've heard like all the rest of the books aren't as good, but I see why everybody loves this. Then I listened to the audiobook of Blindsided by Amy Dawes. I was nervous because Amy Dawes isn't my favorite. She writes like rom-com-y that are a little too over the top for me, but this one blew up on TikTok. I know some of my friends really love it, and so I gave it a try, and I really liked it. I think I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars. I don't know. Still pretty fresh. I think I finished it yesterday, so I don't know what I want to give it, but our heroine, she is plus size. That's definitely a big part of this book in like a positive way though, so I really love that. And she is a virgin, and she wants to get into dating. She wants to date for her friend's wedding. She's been best friends with our hero, who's a Scottish soccer player, and they like hang out all the time, and he realizes that she's pretty inexperienced after a really embarrassing game of Never Have I Ever where she lied the whole time, and he strikes up a deal that he'll show her things to help her prepare and get a man. And obviously they're gonna fall in love. It's really cute friends to lovers. Lots of fun things happen. It does get very serious at the end, and I was frustrated with the hero for the things that he did because he pulled away a lot because of the serious things that were happening with his family. But this was so fun to read. I did really enjoy it. I liked how there were a lot of side characters because it's just part of a series. We see all of the, like I think it's like Challenge, and I don't remember the other ones, but the Harris Brothers series, we see a lot of them because I think this is a spin-off of that. But I really enjoyed this one. It was super cute friends to lovers. I could have used a little bit more soccer because she didn't really go to a lot of his games, but overall it was a fun read. Then I read Two Fights by Nikki Castle. This one was too long. I gave it 4 to 5 stars. I love 5 rounds, and this one is the sister story, and Haley is in a very abusive relationship, not physically, but he gaslights her and he is awful and guilt trips her, and so 20% of this book is her with him. And I felt like we got too much of that. I didn't want to read her in this really bad relationship for that long. I wish that wasn't that big of a part of the book. I was like, come on, like let's get to the romance already, because she's with Jax, who's been her friend since she was little. It's her sister's best friend, but he's always been around, and they've been really close. And so Jax feels very protective of her, sees her like as a woman for the first time, and I loved their romance, but that was really all the book was. It was like over 400 pages of character. I would have loved a lot more plot to this book. There wasn't really a lot of plot except for Haley trying to get over her boyfriend and trying to be comfortable again in a relationship and not try to please someone and trying to overcome all the things that had been ingrained in her from being with someone that manipulative. So I wanted a little bit more from this plot, but I still really enjoyed the romance. It was super cute friends and lovers, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up The Stranger in Seat 8B by Nikki Castle because I interviewed Nikki Castle on Tori's channel from Novel Life. I'll link that interview down below if you want to check it out. We had a lot of fun chatting with Nikki, so now I finally read her backlist, but this one's a novella. Very steamy, very perfect for summer. If you just want something quick and hot, read this. Nikki Castle told us she's like really interested in meet cutes and writing those, so the hero and heroine meet on a plane, have like a little moment together on the plane, and then their flights are canceled to their connecting locations and they see each other at the restaurant, the hotel they're staying at, and connect that way. That's really all there is to this book. I had a lot of fun with it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I liked the characters. I liked how there's a lot of depth to them, even though it was a novella, but there was also a lot of spice to the romance as well. And that's really all I can say about such a short book, but I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Definitely check it out if you want something quick and fun to read. And those are all the books that I read in the second half of June. Let me know if you've read any of these or what your favorite book of June is. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.